Make the ground shake.
Hi guys, it's Nat and I'm here to talk to you today about a very important topic. This is a kind of video that I don't normally make, so I have kind of written not a script, but like I've written a bunch of notes to help me out because I'm far more, coherent via writing than speaking freely. So bear with me if I stumble through half of my words in this video, but I will try and make as much sense as physically possible. So I just thought I would make this video now, get it out the way, because I've been putting it off for like a week and a half now, and I just need to get it done. And I'm rambling again. Yeah, I'm filming on my phone, by the way, because my camera is down there charging. I turned it on, it was like, oh, no battery, so fucking yay. Right, and I'm calm, okay. I'm going to start off with telling you guys 5 facts about me. Number 1, I'm a singer. Number 2, I'm obsessed with cats, but you probably all know that. Shut up, fridge. Nobody asked you. 3, my favourite colour is purple. Number 4, the texture of tomatoes freaks me out. Only the big ones. I don't know why. And number 5, I have an anxiety disorder. Now, some of you are probably surprised by that last one, as was I when I first started having issues with it. So I'm here to tell you about my experience with anxiety and what it's like to live with and all that good stuff. To give people an insight into what it's like living with anxiety, and if you know someone who has anxiety problems, it might help you understand a bit more so you can be there for them. And yeah, if I can help one person through this video, then you know, my work here is done. First, I will start with talking about what is an anxiety disorder. Everyone gets nervous, wow, this is going great. Everyone gets nervous from time to time, you know, based on different life events or if they have an exam or public speaking, but that's not what anxiety is. Nervousness is usually triggered by upcoming things that you don't know the outcome of, and that's just something that everyone in life experiences at one point or another. And when you're nervous, you might get, you know, physical symptoms like your heart races or you have butterflies in your stomach. And the difference with having an anxiety disorder is that you feel that sense of nervousness the majority of the time, like even for no reason, and to such a degree that you cannot function sometimes. Well, in my case anyway. And I can't speak for everyone who has anxiety problems, but I am going to tell you about my journey with anxiety and what it's been like for me as an individual. My anxiety started when I was in about year 11. I mean, it might have started before that, but I didn't notice that it was a problem until year 11. That's when I kind of started to realise, like, this isn't normal. So yeah, obviously year 11 is like a very stressful time in most teenagers' lives. You've got your GCSEs, you're applying to colleges, you might have problems with friendships, relationships, you know, the list goes on. So when I started to notice that I was feeling anxious, it seemed normal to me, kind of given the circumstances of everything that is going on around that time of your life. And that was until one night when I was just lying in bed for hours and hours and hours, and I could not sleep for the life of me, just purely because I was feeling anxious, and I was just so like panicky and uneasy, and I couldn't figure out why. It got so bad that like I just went into my mum's room and I was like, Mum, I can't sleep, I'm anxious. And she was like, what are you anxious about? And I was like, I don't know, everything. And then I was just in there like until the early hours of the morning, talking to her and crying and not knowing what the hell was going on. At that time, my anxiety was what I like to refer to as circumstantial anxiety, in that you know, you can find rational reasons to be anxious. So it wasn't a kind of red flag pointing towards having an actual mental health problem, which I never thought I would have to experience, but hey ho, here the fuck we are. After that, I sat with my mum, we spoke about it, I wrote some things down about like what's making me anxious, and we tried to kind of talk through it, as you do. And so since I kind of hated high school, like as a lot of people I feel do, I don't remember much of what happened or how I felt after that, aside from being relieved that like I'd actually been able to speak to someone about it and get a little bit of kind of relief for this constant thing that I was feeling. Now we're gonna like fast forward to sixth form. By that point I had come in and out of phases of having anxiety and then being fine, but you know, as with all untreated mental health problems, things started to get worse. I remember times when I would literally just walk into the common room in the morning or during like a lunch or a break time or a free period, and I would for some reason feel like everyone in that room was just staring at me or talking about me or judging me, even though I literally didn't know half of them and they probably didn't know me. And so I would just go in there with my headphones in and turn my music up to full blast and shove myself into a corner somewhere and just do stuff on my phone while I waited for my friends to come out of their lessons. And yeah, but I had a pretty good time in sixth form, compared to high school anyway. But one moment I will always remember is my very first memory of a panic attack. The joys. To cut the story relatively short, I was a couple of months into sixth form and there was a subject that I was taking that I really wasn't enjoying. I felt like everyone in the class was heaps better than me at it and that I'd never catch up to them, and I really wanted to drop the subject as soon as possible. I was like, I have made a mistake. I have been mistaken. I was shooketh. I could not deal with this. And it got to a point where I kind of gave up on myself so much with that subject that I stopped doing homework, which is not like me. I just like stopped caring about that subject. I was like taking naps in class. Like there's fully a picture of me asleep like this, which I still have, that somebody took during class. And I just genuinely dreaded having those lessons. Like I dreaded knowing, oh God, I've got to go to this class soon. And there was one lesson where towards the end of the class we were given a homework assignment that I knew I wasn't going to be able to do with as much ease as the rest of the class. And the thought of that alone just stressed me out. And as the teacher was wrapping up, I remember doodling really frantically in my planner, trying to like block out what she was saying, just kind of calm myself down, because I could feel this feeling of anxiety like building and building inside me. And the girl next to me was like, are you okay? Because my pen was like digging so hard into the paper, like I could feel my heart speeding up, and my breathing was getting shallow and fragmented. I was sweating, but in that like hot, cold, uncomfortable way, and I just wanted to get the hell out of there. There were about 10 minutes left of that lesson, and I was like this close to walking out. I didn't want to draw more attention to myself, because I was like, I don't need teachers and students and asking me, are you okay? Oh my God, what happened? Why did you walk out of class? Blah, blah. I somehow managed to keep it together until the bell rang, and when I tell you, I leapt out of my seat and bolted out of that door faster than fucking Mo Farah. Pegged it to the toilet. I started crying as soon as I got there from all this built up panic. It wasn't fun. Now, for you lucky ones who have never experienced a panic attack, let me just paint you a picture, Bob Ross style, just like whack my brush on the side here. So imagine that feeling you get when you're about to do something that makes you nervous, like really nervous. Just like channel that feeling, okay? Close your eyes if you need to, you know. Now, times that feeling by 50. Now add the feeling of wanting to be sick and shit simultaneously. Sorry, but it happens. And then plain, do you mind? And then imagine your heart rate is doubled, your vision has blurred, you feel like someone's sitting on your chest, making it nearly impossible to breathe. And then imagine that whole feeling remaining for up to about 20 minutes. Sounds unpleasant, right? Like, you know, that's honestly one of the worst feelings ever. And in my experience, they don't get much easier the more you have them. The only thing that changes as you have more panic attacks is that after the first few, you come to understand that you're not gonna die. But aside from that, it still sucks every time. So at some point during year 12, this is like later on now in the year, I had a bit of in-school counselling, but it didn't really help so much. It was more of just an opportunity to kind of offload everything I was feeling to someone who wouldn't judge me and had no involvement in my life. no like personal involvement in my life. I also ended up going for multiple tests at the doctors and at a hospital. I had an ECG and a chest ultrasound because they wanted to figure out if there was like a physical contributor to like the palpitations and stuff that led to me having panic attacks. And the outcome of that was fine. Like, there were no heart problems aside from like there was a minor condition called sinus arrhythmia, which basically just means that I have an extra heartbeat every now and again, like here and there, but it's apparently very common and nothing to worry about. So I was like, cool, so it's not a physical thing, so I'm just fucked up in the head. Now we fast forward to my time at uni. As some of you know, I went to uni last September to study performing arts, in which time I had some of the best and worst moments of my life. So while everything started off amazingly and as perfectly as I could have hoped for, my happiness was short-lived, to say the least. In short, I ended up leaving university in April after almost completing the whole of the first year, because my mental health had me in such a state that I literally could not function anymore. I was fully aware by this point I was fully aware that I had an actual anxiety disorder. I'd also been diagnosed with depression, but that's for another video. And I was just at a complete loss. The antidepressants I was on were not working, and they actually made me feel a lot worse. And I had no interest or motivation to do anything or go to most of my classes, to the point where, like, when I came back from the Christmas holidays, I missed my entire first week. I did not go to a single class for the whole first week back because I just felt so bad, and I was just like stuck in bed basically. And also my social life was suffering, which, you know, that's an important part of uni. I was just spending nearly all of my time holed up in my room with the door locked so that nobody could disturb me, binge watching shows on Netflix, eating my feelings. I mean, nothing's changed, to be fair. And avoiding social interaction where I could. I'd even walk into the kitchen with headphones in so that my flatmates I wouldn't have to communicate with them, because I felt too crap to even pretend to be okay or like interested in conversing with people. Now, there were a few factors that played into my anxiety then, which I won't go into because I don't feel like I need to put my time and energy into these factors since they're, you know, in the past. We'll just leave them there. And in my last few weeks at uni, I remember one day not being able to sleep at all because I was so anxious about certain things. So I went into uni at like 6:30, 7 a.m. because I was like, I haven't slept, I'm probably not going to fall asleep soon, and even if I do, I'm going to have to get up in a couple of hours anyway. I went to the top floor of the library, pretty much no one goes, at least not at that time, and I tried to have a little nap because I was like, at least if I nap here and I wake up, I'm already in uni, so I can't like just stay at home and be like, yeah, I'm not coming in. I can't remember if I actually slept or not, but after that I found an even more remote corner of the library where I sat and ended up having a full-on panic attack, which was fun. And that was just at the prospect of going for a rehearsal later on that morning for a performance that we had coming up. I ended up having to get a girl in my performance group to come and get me because I literally couldn't move. And then when she eventually got me to the rehearsal, I spent like the first 10 minutes of that just crying in the toilet and trying to like compose myself in order to get through that rehearsal. I'm just gonna wait for this plane to go. Don't live near a fucking airport, kids. Now, like I said, I ended up leaving uni in April, and once I was out, I started to feel quite a bit better. I wasn't surrounded by a lot of the things that were making me anxious before, and I was looking for jobs that were exciting me, and I felt a bit more free and motivated. But lo and fucking behold, a few months down the line, my good old friend anxiety returned. Nobody asked for you, like, take a hike, go home. And it came back with a vengeance. Now, my anxiety apparently didn't like me being happy for a couple of months, so decided to come and mess with my life some more, just for the bounce. So I went back to my doctors, and eventually I agreed to being prescribed a different kind of antidepressant, which is meant to help with anxiety and depression, and I was also referred for talking therapy. I was very nervous to start the medication because there's a well-known thing with antidepressants whereby you will often feel like your doctor will tell you you will probably feel worse before you feel better. I don't know why this is, it's just kind of how they work. And I was like, I don't know how much worse I can possibly feel before this is like too much. And I was also nervous for therapy because it was I knew it was going to be the first time that I'd be able to be entirely honest with a professional and tell them things that I couldn't tell counsellors in previous years because I was still a minor. And, they've got that like obligation and like law where, you know, certain things that you tell them, they have to tell, you know, if you're at school, they have to tell your teachers or your parents or whatever. So this is the first time I knew I was going to be able to be entirely honest with someone, and I was like, oh fuck. First session I ended up going to of talking therapy was like good. Like my therapist was really nice, she was really lovely, she made me feel very comfortable. And then the next time I saw my doctor after that, I continued to explain how bad I felt and that nothing was improving at all. So she suggested that maybe talking therapy wasn't enough for me and that I should be referred for something more intense, such as like psychotherapy. And the difference with psychotherapy or like kind of clinical psychology is that you're made to delve deeper into your past and things leading up to the present to figure out what kind of triggered your problems initially and how they spiraled, what caused them to spiral, whereas talking therapy focuses more on the present and how to deal with what you're currently feeling. You know, kind of encompasses CBT and exercise. CBT is cognitive behavioural therapy, for those of you who don't know, which basically works on retraining your brain in the present and the way you think now, as opposed to delving into contributing factors from your past. So yeah, after that I had a telephone appointment where I was asked some questions, and then I had a formal assessment letter sent to me with a date and time of an appointment that was made for me. I've just realised I wrote my notes for this before I went for the assessment, so I'm gonna have to change up what I'm about to say. Went for that assessment, I went with Steph, and he kind of just was there for moral support and also helped me to kind of describe some stuff where I was having a bit of trouble. I thought it was just going to be me and one person, but it ended up being like a guy and two women, because I can't remember why one of the women was in there, but she came in and she was like, oh, this is so-and-so, she's like a student or something, is it okay if she, like, for fuck's sake, planes, I'm just going to talk louder. She was like, is it okay if she sits in here with us just to observe because she's like training or whatever, and I felt too bad to say no, so I was kind of just like, yeah, sure, okay, just add another person to the mix, why not, everyone find out about my problems, that's fine. It was like, yeah, me, Steph, the guy who was assessing me, whose name is Robert, I think, and then these two women, but I kind of just ignored them because they were over here and then he was here, so I just kind of focused it all that way. So yeah, he asked me just like a lot of questions and took a bunch of notes about like my present life and some things in the past and whatever. And he said, we will get back to you within 2 weeks about like further help and blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, yep, fab, that's cool. And I got a letter, however long later, saying that I have an appointment to see a psychiatrist, and that was, I didn't realise actually until yesterday that was only to discuss my medication. In like a more intense way than a normal doctor would. I thought that was going to be the kind of start of my therapy as well, so I was kind of like, cool, this is good, this is fab. Only until yesterday, when this is like real time, actually yesterday, and yesterday I was actually planning on filming this video, but I was too upset to film it because it was just like a massive shit fest of a day. Yesterday I got another letter through the post, and I was like, oh yay, this is going to be hopefully good. I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but I thought it was going to be something good. And it essentially said, I've been put on the waiting list for clinical psychology help, and that I would be on this waiting list for 12 weeks. 12 weeks! Are you fucking having an actual laugh right now? For real? Because bear in mind, I got the letter about the psychiatry appointment back in like November, and you know that was long enough to wait, because when I got that letter it said, you know, you've got an appointment in 4 weeks with psychiatry, and I was like, okay, that's long enough, but 4 weeks, I can deal with to start getting help. So as of yesterday, I now have a further 12 weeks to wait until, not even until I can start therapy, but until I can have an assessment to see whether what they offer meets my needs. Like, I was so upset. I opened it, I read it, and I was just like, fuck's sake. And like, I threw it on the table for my mum to read. And then we called up the place that are dealing with me, and my mum had like rant to them on the phone, like, how is that meant to help? 12 weeks is a very long time, because bear in mind, like, when you have problems such as anxiety or depression, or in my case both, and you're not getting any help for it currently, a day feels like a week, and a week feels like a month, and so forth. So like 12 weeks might as well be 12 months, because everything is so dragged on and prolonged, and when nothing's like getting better and you're not being treated, and like medication's not working, and you just, everything feels like it's taking so much longer than it actually is. Excuse me. Would it be one of my videos if I didn't burp? Not really. That happened, and they essentially said there's nothing we can do to move your appointment forward. That's just kind of how our system works. And I was like, well, that's fucking great, isn't it? So, I mean, they did say you can come in at some point, like if you're feeling that bad, you can come in and literally just talk to someone. And I was like, yeah, I fucking might as well. Got nothing else better to flipping do, because I've taken time off work because all this was affecting me so much, and I kept having to like email in sick. I had previously told my work about all of this, but I felt still really guilty and bad calling in sick all the time, and I was like, do you know what, let me just like instead of taking random sick days here and there, let me just take off a prolonged period of time where I can sort all this shit out, get started with therapy, and get on some medication that actually works, because the stuff I've been on for like 3-4 months has literally done like diddly squat. So yeah, I'm like, well, I've got nothing better to do. All my friends are at uni. I have basically nothing to do. I'm not going to work, so yes, I'll come in and speak to someone. I'm going tomorrow to literally just go in and like vent to someone. I don't know if it will get me anywhere or if they'll offer me any help, but it's something, I guess. So anyway, I've gone on a massive tangent now. I was going to talk about that appointment because it was in the future when I wrote all this stuff, but now I've had it, so I thought I would just tell you about it now. I've realised that this has been a pretty long video already, but I wanted to share my story for multiple reasons. One being that, as I said earlier, I hope to inspire people, potentially encourage them to ask for help if they're dealing with issues like this, and just help them realise that they're not alone and they're not the only people that deal with this. Another reason being that I hope I can educate people who have family or friends who deal with anxiety, because it is a lot to put on the people around you, and for them to deal with and like kind of constantly see you in this kind of state, it's like, I appreciate that it's like a lot for them to deal with. And the final reason being that, you know, you never really know what someone is dealing with mentally until they open up to you. And I've had a pretty hard time convincing people that my anxiety is actually severe and like real, and not just me being nervous, because everyone sees me as this kind of outgoing, bubbly person who loves to perform and be on stage, but that's actually just one side of me. And it's hard to explain to people that you have anxiety when you are very comfortable doing what I do, for example, singing in front of thousands of people, making videos on YouTube, like talking about my life, and just in general, like when I have a conversation with a person, they just see me as this very confident, okay person. Like even the guy who did my assessment, he said something like, how are you feeling today on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being amazing and 1 being like the worst. And I said a relatively low number, and he was like, oh really? You don't seem like you feel that bad. And I was like, well, buddy boy, I'm just a good actor. Even my doctor yesterday, she said, you know, oh, you seem to be doing a little bit better than when I first saw you back in however many months ago that was. And I was like, oh honey, if you knew. I already cried a ton earlier yesterday, so, you know, I was not crying in front of her, but I was still feeling all that you know, inside, just because I'm not crying all the time. I mean, I kind of am, but you know, by myself. Just I'm not crying in front of people all the time doesn't mean I've like got my shit together. I'm just very good at like looking like I'm relatively somewhat stable. My final points in this video are going to address how to be there for people who have an anxiety disorder, because I think that's very important if you are a friend or family member or partner of someone who has an anxiety disorder. It's very important to be there for them and show them that you are there for them. Now, I've had my fair share of different reactions and treatment from people when I've spoken to them about having anxiety. So here are some do's and don'ts for people who have friends or family members with anxiety. Do's. If there's a person you care about who you feel may have anxiety problems, just give them a friendly reminder that you are there for them if they ever want to talk about anything, so that when they're ready to talk, if they do have a problem, then they know they can come to you. Offer to attend your family or friends or partners' doctor's appointments or therapy appointments with them for moral support, but don't get offended or take it personally if they do want to go alone, because it is a bit, shut up, for God's sake. It is a very personal thing to like share all this stuff about you to a doctor or a therapist, and you know, the people around you, as much as you might be close to them and share things with them, there might be certain things that you haven't necessarily told them or aren't ready to tell them about yet. So if you do say to someone like, you know, do you want me to come with you? And they say, no, actually I'd rather go by myself. Don't get offended, don't take it personally. Just say, okay, well, I'm here if you need me, and if you change your mind, then I'm still willing to come with you. Because remember, it's not about you, it's about them and their needs. Do check in on them regularly, even if it's just a text or a phone call asking them how they're doing or how their therapy session or doctor's appointment went. Just little things like that, they really help to make people with anxiety feel like loved and supported and remembered about, because often with anxiety comes overthinking and like paranoia that like, oh, nobody likes me, no one cares, no one's there for me, blah. Even though you know, like rationally you know they are, but then when the anxiety hits, it can kind of make you like, it makes everything just negative. So just little things like that, like a text, a phone call, anything, it just really helps to know that people are like thinking of you. This is a very important one, I think. Do continue to invite them to places or to events and things, even if they do always decline because they're anxious. It's nice to feel included and like you always are still welcome, even if you know you won't be able to go out and be social for a while. It's just nice to have that thing of like, we know you feel bad, we know you haven't come out or, you know, joined us doing whatever for a while, but you are always still welcome to come. And that's another thing that, you know, really helps when anxiety can make you feel alone and isolated. Just knowing that despite how many times you turn down plans with friends or say to a family member, no, I'd actually rather stay at home, it's just very nice to feel like you're still included and wanted, even if they know like she's not going to come. Just still include them and invite them anyway, because it, as I said, it just helps with the whole kind of not feeling alone. Now, here are some don'ts. Don't push them into talking about things before they're ready. It takes a lot of courage and strength to be able to describe anxiety and talk it through, especially to people who have never experienced it, because it seems very like irrational and stupid. If someone's not ready to talk about something, just, that's fine. Like, you just have to wait for them to open up to you. This is another important one. Don't get irritated if a person cancels or reschedules plans with you because they're too anxious to go out that day. I mean, leaving the house for me sometimes is even such a hard thing, but I have to reassure myself that it's okay to stay home and take care of myself when I don't feel good, and I need to stop feeling guilty and bad for cancelling on people or not being able to go to work, for example, or join in with things even with family if they're just doing things downstairs. Like, it's okay to not feel okay and want to just stay by yourself and have some time to reflect and channel your feelings and things like that. So yeah, don't make the person or people with anxiety feel bad, and don't get irritated with them. You just have to try and be very patient with them and realize that it's not that they don't want to go out with you, it's just they are so like anxious that it's kind of the thing where like I'm so anxious that I know I'm not going to have a good time if I go out, and I don't want to bring the people around me down because I don't feel good. Don't tell other people about someone's anxiety problems without their permission. I mean, this kind of goes for any problem or personal thing out there, but in this case I'm talking about anxiety. If someone confides in you, it means that they trust you enough to let you know that they're struggling with anxiety and that they want to be able to continuously trust them. So if you abuse their trust and go and tell every Tom, Dick and Harry, then, you know, that's kind of not a cool thing to do. So just keep things to yourself unless otherwise specified or given permission to, and you're all good. Don't try and negate the severity of a person's anxiety. This is another important one. Like, I get so frustrated when people say things to me like, oh, you'll be fine, just come along, or just go for a walk and you'll be okay, or there's nothing to be anxious about, don't worry. And I'm like, oh, well, shit, I didn't realise that, I didn't think about that one. Why didn't I just think of that? Fucking, just don't be anxious. Duh, fucking, it's a very hard thing to explain to people and get them to like fully wrap their head around when they haven't experienced it themselves. So to you, going for a walk might make you feel better when you're just having a bit of a bad day, but for us it's like I can't even get out of bed, put clothes on sometimes, so there's like no part of me that even wants to leave the house and go for a walk. And there's also this kind of cycle where even if there's a chance something might make you feel better, this happens with me anyway, like I'll say, okay, I'm feeling really shitty today and having a really like anxious day. If I could go for a walk, that might make me feel better. But if it doesn't make me feel better, then I'm gonna feel even worse. Because then I'm like, okay, well, I've tried this and it's not made me feel any better. That can make you feel worse, and in turn, not so much more anxious, but in my case, more like depressed and just down about it. Because it's like, okay, well, I'm trying all these things that are meant to make a person feel better and calm you down, and they're not working. So that just has like a worse effect on me, do you know what I mean? When we're ready to do something and try something new, we will do it for ourselves. And we, you know, we appreciate suggestions, but people don't need to get like annoyed about us not taking on their suggestions for things that might help us. I think that is everything from my lovely notes document in my laptop. I hope I've not been too rambly, and I hope I've made a significant amount of sense. I hope that those of you who don't suffer from anxiety and know people that do can take something away from this video and have learned something and are now able to understand it a bit more in terms of the way our minds work and overthink things and link things and stuff like that. And I hope that if you are a person watching this who struggles with anxiety, that you can get the help you need, have support from those around you when you need it, and just don't give up hope. Because, I mean, that's very hypocritical coming from me, because after that fucking letter yesterday with the 12 weeks, I was like, no, that's it, I'm not going. Literally, I was the Grinch. I was like, nope, that's it. But yeah, just try not to give up hope. You will get there eventually. The NHS is a fucking mission to get through, but it will happen eventually. Just hang on in there. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you found it educational and helpful. I hope I've maybe inspired or helped at least one person. And if you want me to do more personal videos like this, I have a lot of things to talk about, so just let me know and I will get onto that. If you're not already and you would like to be, please hit the button wherever it is, I don't know where it's going to be, and subscribe to my channel. I post new content whenever I kind of want to / can. You know, it's been hard recently with all this shit that I've just been rambling on about for fucking half an hour. But yeah, I will try and get new videos out as and when I can. I will probably film a Christmas cover at some point soon, because I like doing a little Christmassy video every year. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon. Bye!